Welcome to Paradelphia Radio. This is Rick Pruitt coming to you once again from the Toxic Radio Studios. And I have with me, once again, my lovely co-host. You're lovely tonight, Doug.
You know what it is? It's because I went sleeveless tonight.
Sleeveless.
I'm going to start doing a fashion thing every week. I'm sleeveless tonight.
Mr. Doug Hogate Jr.
What's up? What's
going on, Doug?
I'm glad to be here this week because last week I was, back to being like 15 with no vehicle. Starter just ends,
You had to hitchhike, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so.
All right. So tonight, we're going to get to, in a few minutes here, we're going to get to our guest for the evening. He is from Rams Paranormal. They work out of a town called Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and have done paranormal investigations for over 10 years in and around the Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland area. So it should be a really interesting show because I know, Doug, you do jumps, your jumps group, and it'll be neat to compare notes and so forth.
And again, I've been saying this ever since I started. 13 years ago. It's all unity. I mean, this isn't. I've seen teams out there that act like it's a big competition or something. That's not how it is. I mean, we all learn from one another. Right. There's no experts in this field. It's just the experience and how we can help everybody. So,
right. We're talking about all being one. We here at Toxic are all one, and I know you met one of our esteemed colleagues yesterday.
I did. Let me tell you. So on the side, to make a little extra money, I drive Lyft.
Yeah.
And last night, I got a ride. I picked up this guy, and we're chatting, and as we're driving along, and like about halfway through, he starts talking about a nonprofit that him and a buddy has started called Hungry for Hope. And I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, where have I heard that before? And then he all of a sudden started talking about how he does a podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, I co-host a paranormal podcast, and he says, oh, Paradelphia? And then like all of a sudden, that's when it all clicked. So. So I met Donnie yesterday from last night, and it's really, really nice guy, and, again, we all, support each other, and sometimes not officially, meeting each other face to face, but yeah, no, it definitely was cool to meet him.
And sometimes we drive each other to the airport,
well, Yeah, exactly, but it was a random, unique situation on how to meet, and then all of a sudden, they realized, because again, I'm sitting there hearing that, I'm like, where have I heard that before? Right. And then it all went in, so nice to meet the guy, and
very
all
cool.
That, so.
Very cool. All right, so let's bring our guest on for the evening. His name is Andrew Stopko. He is a member of the Rams Paranormal Group. And again, they are out of a town called Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Are you there, Andrew? There you are.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
How you doing?
Nice to meet you, man. How you making out?
Good. Thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Paradelphia. So I mentioned in the intro that you guys are out of Johnstown and you do investigations all over that area, PA, Ohio, West Virginia, and Maryland. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about the group, like how you guys got started? I know there's other members of the group that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably like you mentioned, about 10 years ago, there was 4 of us originally who went to high school together. And growing up, we kind of always had an interest in the paranormal field. And from a town of Johnstown, it kind of has that history with it. You hear about all these haunted locations and everything like that, graveyards. We talked a little bit about all the floods and the history of the town and things like that. So, that was something we all kind of had an interest in. And we figured one night, a bunch of high school kids, we were bored. Let's go to a so-called haunted graveyard or haunted places around town.
Isn't that how it always starts, right?
It's everyone, right?
Right.
So yeah. So it's just, so we did that. And then, we had some crazy experiences, just hearing things, typical first time, you don't know if it's paranormal or if you're just scared because you're not allowed to be there or whatever. So, so from there, we just kind of said, we think this is something we're interested in, and we just kind of kept taking it further and further and further. And now, 10 years later, here we are, and we're, traveling out of state, and people are calling us to come investigate their houses in different locations. So just kind of a hobby that turned into something that, maybe a little bit bigger than what we thought at first. But so there's 3 of us in the group now. Originally it was 4. We had one of our our fourth member actually had an incident, passed away at the age of 20. So that was one of the, continue to do it in his honor. So, but yeah, we've been going strong here for about 10, 11 years now.
Very cool. So was it something where you started out going to public places to do investigations and word caught on and people started to hear about your group and therefore you got private investigation requests, private residents?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it was just kind of like, looking online, Google searching, what are the most haunted places in the area? So from there, it's just, we created social media. So we created Twitter. That was the first, kind of the first social media platform. And it got out around town and we had a couple tweets that, had a bunch of favorites and retweets. And it kind of just went from there. And for us at that point, when people started reaching out to us for, actual locations, across the state and private locations, it became kind of like a community. Hey, like we want to help. We want to make sure we're helping these people who kind of have no idea of what's happening, whether it's paranormal, if it's not, whatever's going on. And for us, it was a way to kind of give back to our community. So we're in a smaller area. I mean, it's a smaller town. So having that ability to help out local residents was something that really intrigued us and appealed to us right away. So, helping out the town and other locations, once we got outside of our area, for us was something that we thought, hey, this could be not only helpful for us, but for our community as well.
Yeah. Having done this now for 10 years, obviously you've come across various types of hauntings, various types of evidence. Have you developed a leading opinion about what this is you're seeing? And what I mean by that is a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about what a haunting is. Some people think it's a discarnate spirit of people that were once alive that are now dead. Some people think it may be something like the stone tape theory where the haunting is kind of etched into that environment and plays over and over and over again. So if you guys come across any one particular type of haunting that you kind of narrow it down and say, yeah, this is probably what this is.
Yeah, and it's a great question. I mean, I feel like every location and every time you go to a location, it's so different, right? You have the residual, hauntings where you hear these noises and you hear these sounds where, you're like, are these energies or these spirits, they trapped there? Do they not have any idea what's going on? And then you do these spirit box sessions or ovula sessions and you have these intelligent conversations and you're thinking, hey, this energy, is it here? Are they stuck here? What's the purpose of them being here? I mean, for us, I think it's trying to establish, is it actual residual energy there or is it intelligent energy? Can we do something to help this spirit who died in this location or who was treated bad in this location have the ability to move on and kind of start over again? And for us, I mean, there's so many theories out there like you talked about. So for us, it's learning and growing. Every location is different. We've been to multiple locations. We've been in multiple locations several times. So for us, every time we go back, it's like a whole new experience for us. So, we were just in Ohio, probably the start of July here now, June, July. So, where, we went to this location and it was so residual energy and, a lot of these sounds and noises and making sure it's paranormal and debunking it and doing it in the right way. Where we went to a location 3 days before that, and, you're having these intelligent conversations with these spirits and you're thinking, hey, what's this all about? It's, completely different from location to location. I'm sure you guys have that experience too. And I think that's what makes us so motivated to keep going out and doing it. Everything's different and everything's going to change. And, with all this new equipment and things like that and all these new experiments, I mean, we're really trying to find the right answers and how can we help these spirits, move on. And that's such a powerful statement and idea to have that ability and being able to do that.
And that's where, of course, I mean, being in the same line of research as you is I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people, being kind of influenced with what's on television, the first thing they think about is when we go out and we investigate, it's we're going out just to get a scare in real life and instead of watching it on television. And it's more than, of course, like you said it perfectly, not just helping the client or whether it's a residential or a business owner or whatever the case is, it's you're actually trying to give a voice to that spirit, trying to continue its story, its legacy, because you don't know exactly what is they're going through. So it's kind of like working out both ends. Now one question I have, so with equipment wise, I know obviously different teams, we all kind of have different techniques and ways we go with it. Have you found that kind of using the newer type of technique or technical equipment out there seems to work best for you guys, or do you kind of stick to old school ways, or is it kind of a combination of both?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a combination of both. I mean, we've been at locations where, we went old school. We brought out the dowsing rods and going back to those days where, actually we were at a location in Wimber, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of where we live, and we were using dowsing rods, and I actually had, I got full scratches across my back and using those.
They're
rods,
the best, aren't they?
The best thing ever. So
yeah,
there's all this equipment out there, and we're holding up two rods, and that's the best evidence we're getting.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. I mean, sometimes that's just what it takes. Is sometimes personal experiences are the best. Ourselves, our bodies, the way we feel. That's the best piece of equipment we have. So yeah, definitely, I agree 100% with you.
When you
yeah, no, I agree. Sometimes our bodies are the best piece of equipment that we have, but we use all the spirit boxes, the REM pods, K2s. Those are great, but everything's different from location to location. We'll start out using some of those more high tech equipment, but if it's not working, you got to change it up. You got to do what's best for location. So for us, I would say it's a combination of both. Sometimes it's just sitting there and listening and then not doing anything except sitting there, not even talking. So for us, it's a combination of both. But we've been to locations where we've had great evidence captured with an SLS camera to spirit boxes to just personal experiences. So for us, it's a combination of both, and I feel like it's based on location really.
All right, nothing beats that digital recorder either.
This is kind of aimed, because you guys both do investigations with your team, so this is kind of sort of aimed at both of you guys. So when you're doing an investigation, do you find that there's any correlation between the supposed time frame, or age, however you want to put that, of the ghost or the spirit, and the type of equipment that you use, and how well the evidence is manifested using certain types of equipment? What I'm getting at is, if you have a haunting that is supposed to be, Sir so-and-so from the 1800s, and you go in there with a spirit box. Well, at that point, there was no such thing as telephonic communication. Right. So would that spirit know even what to do with that? And would like a dowsing rod or something similar be better in that situation, gain better evidence? Because that spirit would, if that was who that was really there, would have a better knowledge of what it was you were using and how to respond to that equipment. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So Andrew, I want to start with you.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Andrew. Good.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question and great point to bring up. Thinking about that, like for us, a couple weeks ago, or probably about a month ago now, we were in Gettysburg. So, looking at, some of those locations there, we had a couple of private investigations at some of the locations set up there. And it's, that's Civil War time, right? So we're not talking about those types of things. So, I think that's a great thing to bring up. We think sometimes the way we go about investigation is how, first just opening up and seeing what happens, making sure that hey, we're here to do the right thing. We're here to try to communicate with you and help you. We're that voice for you. So sometimes, using these more high-tech equipment, sometimes it's not the best thing to do. And if you go, if you watch these TV shows, they're trying all these new techniques and equipment, and that's great, right? But sometimes you have to think of what time period you're looking at. If you're looking back in the 1800s or, that's a whole different lifestyle at that point. So I think it is important to think about the time period of the location you're at and, that history and who you're investigating with. And for us, even versus male versus female, like that's important for us too, being three guys coming into a location. So those are things that I think all of that information, equipment, members of the team and how you investigate based upon the location, I think is huge.
And you actually brought up one of the things I was getting ready to say with the difference between like male and female. I mean, much like you said, I mean, time period that's like one thing I know myself, and I'm sure same with you, is doing that kind of preliminary research on the location, and not just location, but even the area surrounding it, because again, like you said, Civil War time, you're not going to put a K2 meter down and say, hey, this K2, get close to it. They're going to, Spirit's going to look at you and, put up its Spirit rifle ready to shoot you 50 times because they have no idea, but no, I mean, it's and even let's say hypothetically going in to do a residential investigation, and let's say someone passed away and a family member wants you to try to make contact, and it was only a couple years ago they passed away, so maybe let's say they could have thought of obviously a camera they might know, or maybe they have heard of some equipment, but still, I know myself, I try to approach everything as if that spirit, no matter what, whether it's recent or 100 years ago, has no idea, like trying to express like, this is not going to hurt you, this is our way of being able to communicate, this is to help us understand you, and like you had said, Andrew, male, female, and even children. I mean, that's why it's really important. I know when thinking that dealing with a child spirit, I mean, trigger objects like toys, I mean, just gaining that trust regardless of the spirit you believe you're dealing with is one of the most important things. Another piece of equipment that just seems so simple, but one of the most important things, because that equipment that we use is there for us to try to, identify where and who and communicate. But to them, it's kind of like a bargaining chip, like, hey, play with this. I mean, I haven't be able to do this for a while. So it does. Right. It's like you said in the beginning, every investigation is different, the circumstance. So that's why doing that preliminary research is very important. So.
Right. Yeah, I know we've used, and I know Doug has used, and I've been on a couple of investigations with him, a member of our team who isn't here tonight, a lady by the name of Jean Durkin, mm-hmm. and she is a psychic medium. And when we have her out at investigations, in a way, she's sort of like another piece of equipment. She is someone who we can use as we would use a piece of equipment to see what we can't see and hear what we can't hear.
And use equipment. We've done it in the past while she's done a reading.
Yeah.
Actually used equipment to monitor what's going on while she's doing her thing, and the results that we've got are unbelievable with that. But anyway,
I wondered if Andrew, you'd ever come across a situation where you've gone out with a medium or used one in your research.
Yeah, so that's something that we actually haven't had the opportunity to do yet. That's something that we've been definitely wanting to get out there with the medium. Like you said, it's just the experience with the medium, with what we've seen, has been incredible. I mean, we personally haven't been with one, but we've been on investigations with groups and things like that where they have used mediums, and the ideas and the techniques that you get from them is so huge, and it just tailors the investigation in a whole new way. So for us, that's something we definitely would love to get into in our area. It's hard to reach, try to reach out and get someone like that. But
especially trying to find someone who's, got great credibility as well. So.
Right.
And that's our big thing. I mean, like, if we're bringing people on with us, we would need to make sure, like, hey, you're doing, what we're doing, how we're doing this in the right way. And we would need to make sure that, hey, you're, like you said, the credibility is there and you're legit. So for us, it's like, we need to make sure that, hey, you're coming with us. You got to make sure you're on board with us. So for us, that's something we definitely want to get more involved in. That seems like that's the hot thing right now is getting mediums and psychics and different things like that. So definitely that's something we've always been open to. We'd love to get into that area.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of like with us in investigating. I mean, one thing that because the first thing a lot of clients want to say is just like, oh, do you have somebody that's a medium? And I try to express to them, like, yes, I do have someone, but we want to approach this as a scientific level. I mean, usually when Gene comes along, it depends on the circumstance. I mean, a lot of times it's investigating, not sharing a thing. Like, the only thing Gene wants to know, and it's the day of before she's about to leave her house, is the address to get there. Other than that, she wants no information. investigation, and then being able to compare what we've, may have captured on the investigation, and then what she's picking up. And again, like, that's where it helps out a lot. Instead of just having a medium go out and say, okay, this, and this, and that's where it's been really successful on our end. So, but a lot of times what people don't understand when they're asking for help is it's, we're just not a group of mediums that are going to come sit down and tell you all this stuff. I mean, we're really digging in deep to try to find some deep answers rather than just kind of not so much what you want to hear, but kind of what you're expecting or hoping to hear, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's with us. I mean, like, I don't want to tell you what you want to hear. We want to tell you what we think is out there and sometimes we've been working with businesses and things like that where we're telling them what they don't want to hear. And for us,
yes, I know what you mean.
Like that's what you think's happening might not be what's happening, and you might not like that. For us, it's all about doing it the right way. So no, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, they want to use it, like a lot of times you get businesses, they look at it as a big promotional type thing. So, but when you're coming in, it's like, look, here's the deal. This is what's going on. This is what we captured. It's kind of like, oh man, but maybe this, and it's like, I understand your whole thing, but I'm not going to BS you, or that just takes my whole credibility out of it.
So talking about evidence, when you go in to do a residential haunting or residential investigation, I get that the evidence ultimately is going to go back to the homeowner, and they're going to, you're going to either tell them, yeah, we've got this crazy shit going on, or no, this is just the pipes banging around, or whatever. So your evidence there kind of goes back to the homeowner, and the homeowner can then make a decision on what they want to do about it. But when you're doing a public place, like a place like Gettysburg or some of the other places that you guys have investigated that are public spaces, and you gather evidence, is there a plan for what to do with that evidence aside from just your own knowledge? Is there a place like that will further research or do something with this evidence that you've captured?
Yeah. I mean, for us, so when we go into any location, whether it's a public place, whether it's a private residential home, we kind of go in with the same game plan where, we're here to help you explain to us the activity, what's all of those things happening. And we're going to be honest with you, and we're going to tell you what's going on, whether it's nothing, whether if it was, waste of our time, or we captured, 10 things of EVPs versus REM pods and different things like that. So, once we go into investigation, we look at our evidence, we do that thoroughly, get back to those, those public locations, like you said. And for us, it's, they always tell us, we were just at a location. They're like, oh, this was on TV and they captured this, and we don't think that was real, or this was fake, and different things like that. So, for us, it's, going into these locations and saying, hey, this is what we experienced. This is what's happening, this is why we think these things are happening, and not saying that the other people went in there did it the wrong way, because I'm sure they didn't. Like you said, this is a giant family for us. We're not a competition. We want to make sure we're helping everyone out. But for us, it's providing them with the knowledge that and the evidence that we captured, and making sure that they're aware of it. So, when we talk to homeowners after, it's, hey, this is what we captured. Do whatever you want with this. We're giving you permission to show other teams, or post on social media, or share it with your historical society after, we talk to some of those types of people. So for us, it's making sure that, we're taking time out for us and for them. We want to help them. So we need to make sure that the evidence that we're providing them is true, which is thorough, whether it's, doors slamming because windows slamming because it's the wind, versus could be a spirit, could be nothing. So that idea of, because a lot of those public places, it's, like talk about Gettysburg, a lot of people go in and out of there. So a lot of things happen. So, we want to make sure that they're understanding what we believe is happening at these locations.
Well, I mean, what I'm getting at, like, let's use UFOs, for example. When you have a UFO investigation, and you come up with something that is legitimately strange and cannot be proven to be anything but an anomalous UFO, that information can be passed on to certain agencies within the government, I guess, and ultimately it may lead to a disclosure by the U.S. government or by the governments of the world or whoever that, yeah, this stuff is real. So you're basically you're moving the ball down your investigation is helping to move the ball down the field by being in a public place, seeing something and finding the evidence. if you go out to like a graveyard, we're not talking about a residence or even a business, just a private public wide open space like a graveyard, and you come across a really great piece of evidence, you have that for yourselves, and you can use that to promote yourselves. Like, hey, we caught this. Mm-hmm. This is legit. Put that on social media. But aside from that, is there anything that can be done or any recourse for you to send that evidence somewhere? Similar to like MUFON or something like that for UFOs that could move the ball down the field to eventually have some type of quote unquote quote disclosure for ghosts and hauntings.
I know one thing, if I may, real quick. I mean, with what you're saying, with like. Again, since we've been talking about Gettysburg, we'll talk about Gettysburg because I've been there many times. My favorite place on earth. I feel that when you get into locations specifically, like for example, let's say the Homestead Orphanage or the Jenny Wade House, they're actually they're ran by a team that also owns a store there. I think it's the Ghost Hunter store or something along that lines. And what they do is they offer out public investigations to teams. It's like, you pay them money, you can go in and investigate, and then that's it. I mean, in situations like that where they do regular, let teams come in, I know I found myself that like I don't mean this in a negative way or derogatory against them, but it's almost feel as if there's been so many investigations and so much evidence, because I have seen and heard some incredible things people have gathered, but it's almost like a dead end because it's been done so much. Now, when you get into, like you said, Andrew, you've done some private residences and private places there. That's where I feel that's where you kind of can put it out and it really be something to where if it's a location that has not regularly been investigated, because I feel these places that are like every weekend you're getting 3 or 4 teams in there, it's kind of like, unless you actually have an apparition appear in front of you and say, hey, I'm a ghost, let's talk. You can use it to promote yourself, but other than that, it's just, unfortunately, they're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, we don't care, in a sense.
Yeah.
What do you think, Andrew?
We did those exact 2 locations in Gettysburg. That's where we went or Jenny Wade House. And no, I mean, I'm on the same page with that. It's, they had, tours in and out of there, right before we had the location, it was, there was 25 people going in and out of these locations for 2 hours. So it's more of the fact, like you said, unless you capture this amazing evidence, it's, hey, well, great, thanks, here it is, anything like that. So, and like for us, when we do these smaller, like public locations near our town, they're asking us to come in and help them because they have these stories and they want to make sure like, hey, is this safe and different things like that. So that evidence, we're passing that on to the towns, the townships, the cities, different things like that. So they are aware of that. And, from there, that's, their ideas or what they want to do with it. But yeah, when we do public smaller locations near us, it's passing that on the right way so the correct people have that information that they know what's happening at these locations. People shouldn't be getting in there at night and different things like that. So but that idea of public versus residential, that that's huge, you know what I mean. So but that's up to the public places what they do with that information. I mean, that some take it great and some people say, like you said, hey, whatever, I don't care. So
sometimes when I think of like the spirits of like Jenny Wade or anybody that's over in Gettysburg and in place, sometimes I feel like they're probably just like, oh my gosh, I wish you people would just leave us alone or something. I mean, just because where it's like constant all the time. It's almost like I feel like they're trained in a sense at this point. They know, even though they're from the 1800s. You mention a K2, they're like, oh, this damn thing again.
Checked out, right?
Yeah, right.
So, Andrew, you mentioned to me that you guys are working on a documentary about a couple of extreme hauntings you guys came across, I guess, within the last year or two. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and tell us some more about that?
Yeah. So, this summer, we decided to go on a road trip. We investigated 2 extreme haunted locations in 3 days. So we got to go out towards Ohio. So we did 2 locations there, and we have the opportunity to create a documentary, and we're working on that now, getting that all squared away and edited out. And then during Halloween time in our towns, we're going to be showing it in our local movie theaters across the city here. So it's a great opportunity for us. So we traveled to, I don't know if you've ever been there, but Prospect Place in Fairfield County Infirmary. So it's near Columbus, Ohio. I don't know if you've ever been.
I've heard of it. No, I've never been there. I have definitely heard of it though.
Yeah. So they invited us out there. So it was a good opportunity for us to, kind of, since that's a little bit further, we said, hey, let's do 2 and 3 days.
Yeah,
so
might as well.
Yeah. So, we're working with some professional editors and production teams here to get this created, and then having the opportunity to show it in our local theaters is great for us, but also them as well, with everything that's happened over the past year. To have the ability to show something local a couple times in our hometown is something we're excited about, and helping out the local community as well. So super excited about it, and Halloween's kind of the perfect time to do it. Right?
Exactly. And that's what I've always loved too, talking about. I mean, you go around all these places, you investigate, but like really coming into your local, like where you're from specifically, and finding out the truth behind all the legends that have been in existence for all these years, and then you do your research. I mean, there's been a lot of cases where it's always, for example, one, it was called Muttontown Woods, and it was always a story even since when my parents were younger. If you drive through really fast, you either get the Jersey Devil coming after you, or a ghost girl will appear, and all this other stuff. I did research, and I put it public that all this place was a guy. Mutton is like baby lamb, I think it is. And the guy just raised baby lambs back in the late 1800s, hence why it's called Muttontown Woods. And it was just a bunch of drunk kids told a story and ended up. So, like finding all the answers to these legends. I mean, it's not trying to take away a good time, but on the same token, I mean, Rick, you joined us on one where we were trying to spend 3 hours in the woods looking for this cemetery. Yeah. Come to find out, we parked right over top of it because there were some grave robbers, and they moved the gravestones, and that was a heck of a day,
hiked through the woods for 3 hours, and
right.
Went back to the car and found my tire sitting on the gravestone,
sitting right on the tire. But
son of a bitch.
But all in all, like you said, being able to come back and, having the opportunity, having those great opportunities, really focusing on your home to, get down and find some, truth behind things.
So one of the investigations, and I see you guys have listed on your website, is something called the Lost Children of the Alleghenies that you investigated. Yeah. What it just sounds like an interesting story. So what is that all about?
Yeah, so that was actually one of our first places we've ever went to. So that is right in our hometown of Johnstown. So it's actually back in the state park. So back in the late probably 1800s, there was a man who was hiking with 2 of his children, and they separated and they got lost. So from there, took them like a couple months, but I think they were like 5 and 7 years old. So they were young children. So they got lost. And about a couple months later, they were found dead in the woods by this location that they now built a big memorial and things like that. So some people say, they were eaten, it's deep in the woods, eaten by animals, different things, might have been killed by, any human, anything like that. So a lot of people say Bigfoot's back there. So
anything you can possibly think of caused the death.
Did they find the bodies?
They did. They did find the bodies. Yeah. So I guess they were pretty mutilated, pretty good. So,
wow.
But so that was actually one of the first. Probably that might have been the second location we ever went to, and we went back there a lot. So that was one of the very first pieces of evidence we actually ever captured there. So that's weird you bring it up. We had like a little softball that was there because we back to that whole trigger object thing, and quiet summer night, and we laid it on the ground there, and we actually captured on camera of it moving, and looking like it hit or pushed or whatever. So, but that's the big local legend of our town. So, but yeah, the kids were lost, and that's funny you bring that up because that was one of our very first locations. But yeah, I mean, it's deep in the woods. That's like you say we searched for that place for hours.
Right.
We weren't even in the right direction the first time we found it. So, but yeah, so that's one of the local haunted towns or legends in our town. So,
right, especially when they're your first ones. Like, it's always great to go back when you think about 10 years, 13 years ago, like where you were at and what you used compared to where you're at now, and just thinking, man, I can't believe it was just an idea I had, and now here I am, and I've accomplished all of this, and this is just, it's a surreal feeling, it's
we actually were just talking about that last week, actually. Just we're going to these huge locations now. Sometimes it's good to go back to the roots and just check out, some of those local cemeteries that you just walked into and you're just scared just sitting there. And it's, sometimes it's good to go back to those things.
Yeah. So you guys have actually also invested, and this kind of interested me too. You guys have investigated a turnpike tunnel, a haunted turnpike tunnel.
Oh, wow.
So what was the story there? What did you find, if anything?
Yeah. So, I don't know, Breezewood, Pennsylvania, the old Pennsylvania Turnpike. I don't know if you know where that. So that's more towards Bedford. So that's closer to us.
Okay.
So there's a tunnel back there and it was abandoned when they built the new turnpike. So, a lot of local legend that, it's haunted, back to whole Bigfoot, different things like that. So,
Bigfoot's everywhere.
Bigfoot's everywhere. They're everywhere. They're all over the place. So we were like, hey, check that out one night and, let's see what happens. So we walked back there and, it was, we didn't really catch anything. It was just more of just like the scary kind of hair standing up on the back of your neck feeling. Right. But yeah, so that's a lot of people say they see a lady in white running across if you're on one end of the tunnel, running across the other way. So, but yeah, it's a bike. You can ride your bike back there. So there's a bike trail through the tunnel. So it's a couple miles of the old turnpike back through there in Breezewood. So, but yeah, local legend back there. So it was a cold night for us. So I think for us, when we went there, it was a little bit more for us just staying warm than actually
I know the feeling on that one. Yeah. You're kind of like, oh my God, we've been out here 15 minutes. It's enough.
So you guys,
right.
You guys are called Rams Paranormal. So we've been talking mostly tonight about hauntings, but have you guys investigated things like Bigfoot or UFOs or anything like that, or would you?
Yeah, we haven't set out for something like that. A lot of these, public locations we go, the legends are Bigfoots, different things like that. But I think that's something definitely we'd love to get our feet wet and get into that field. It's definitely in our location, like you guys are probably aware too. There's a lot of those claims.
Pennsylvania's huge for that.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the rural area out here. So, I mean, that's something that, we would love to get into. And it's just a better way to expand our knowledge as well. So, we go to these locations and they say, oh, Bigfoot's here. You guys should be doing that instead. So for us, no, that's definitely something just because of where we're located, something we would definitely be interested in getting into.
You guys have the Chestnut Ridge running right through there too, right?
Oh,
yep, absolutely.
That's like ground zero for all that crazy shit.
Yeah. Well, see that.
That's what he says, yeah.
Right, and that's kind of, and it sounds like you're kind of along. Like for the last couple of years, in fact, when COVID happened, I was really like researching and digging in deep, and I'm still focused on doing it. But one of the big things, again, it's always been ghost research, but where we have here in Jersey, where we have the Pine Barrens, same kind of situation. Everything surrounds the Pine Barrens. Where I want to focus on doing this big project where we take some of these stories, not like your normal Jersey Devil, like really digging deep of these legends and stories that surround the Pine Barrens and really digging in deep, not just ghosts, but, any kind, like all the cryptozoology and all the little mysterious things that have happened for, all the decades, if not longer, that stories have come out. I mean, because as we know, much like you up there in that area, we've had, the Pine Barrens takes up more than half of our state. So there's just all kinds of crazy crap that just surrounds it. So that's kind of something, like you guys, I'm trying to, I really want to get us involved in. So it'll be a different venture because I'm used to ghosts, but hey,
So money and logistics aside, if you guys had a bucket list of places you'd want to go, what are some of those places on that list?
Yeah, that's a great question. We definitely have a number of locations we'd love to get to.
I want to try to compare this, so go ahead.
So you might have been to some of these locations based where we're at, but we'd love to go to Eastern State. Dying to go there. Yeah.
I have done that. That is I'll tell you what, you get the opportunity, you will not be sorry, that place. I promise you that. Tell you that from experience.
It's a little bit of a drive for us, so that's why we haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
Definitely there. And right now, I would say number one on our list is definitely Trans-Allegheny. And what?
That's that is that and the oh my god,
you can give them an Uber ride
that's
out
what
there.
I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Trans-Allegheny has been that's like a number one, because my number one is actually local to us. It's Fort Delaware. I don't know if you ever heard of Fort Delaware.
I've
yeah.
heard of it, yeah.
I mean, literally where I live, Fort Delaware, like I could be there in like 15 minutes, but like, they want a couple of grand. I mean, granted, you give them that, they drop you off on the boat at 6 p.m. and they don't pick you back up until 6 a.m. the next morning, but, they want a very large donation, which again, something that it's on my bucket list that I will get to, but, that's like number one. And Trans Allegheny, yes, that's definitely like my number two. I've always wanted to go and investigate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for us as well, I mean, we were talking a little bit about it before, but, Johnstown's noted for their floods. So we've had, a big flood in 89. So, that's right in our backyard. So we've been dying to get there, but it's a national museum, it's a national park, and, can't get on there, and they're real strict about that. So for us, kind of that local flavor, that's way up there for us as well.
Well, that took place over a large area. That flood, like there was miles and miles of damage.
That's right.
So where would you know where to go? Do you have specific places you would go?
Yeah. So where the dam broke, that's what started the flood.
Yeah.
That's where the park and museum is now. I mean, we have some friends who work there who talk about all these experiences they have, while they're working there at night and different things like that. So that's one. And then another one is there's a graveyard in town where they have all the bodies buried with unknown mark. They're just graves, nothing on them. So we'd love to get into that as well. Kids who've snuck on there, who've emailed us and said, hey, check out this, and then different things like that. So those are kind of the two places we would love to do if we're going to do for the flood.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Has now out of curiosity, when this whole COVID-19 outbreak, how did that affect you guys with investigating it? With getting requests or even just going out and doing your own kind of research and investigations?
Yeah, I mean, we had right before it hit, we had about 3 to 4 places lined up, which we had obviously pushed back. So I mean, for us, it was, we kind of just took that time off from it, and we met still and thought of ways of how can we improve our investigation and looking at different equipment and different things like that. So it definitely hurt us because some people were in need of us and we really wanted to help them, but just during times and different things like that. So it hurt us in a sense. We really didn't get out there until probably, this year, 2021, we started to get those places back up. So yeah, I mean, it pushed a lot of things back for us, but I think for us, it was kind of a good thing in a sense too, because we really got to learn more and we became more knowledgeable about, the field and how to approach things and equipment. So kind of those, good, bad things, but it was tough for us. We really had to, push some things back, which, is not what we want to do. But,
but it's understandable. But like you said, it gives you a chance to just have that breather because, once you're in it and you start, especially when you get into that, what I like to call ghost hunting season where, from September till November, that seems to be the biggest thing, even though you have them throughout the year. But, it does. It gives you that chance to actually take a break and be able to like kind of reassess things and everything. So absolutely understand that.
So if anybody wanted to reach out to you guys for an investigation request or for more information about what you do, maybe information about your documentary, where would they go to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on Twitter and TikTok, and we just got an Instagram as well. So you can reach out to us in any of our social media locations. It's just at Rams Paranormal. You can send us a DM, message, whatever. We also have an email. It's ramsparanormalcrew98@gmail.com. So once the documentary's out, in the theaters, we will be giving it out to different people who are interested in. We will donate a portion of the money that is being made through the theater and private, showings as well to some local charities. So we're super excited about that. So definitely follow us on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. That's kind of the best ways to reach us nowadays. But, you can also reach out to us via email at ramsparanormalcrew98@gmail.com. So
awesome.
Very cool.
I do have one more question for you. So what would you say is your favorite piece of equipment? Let's do it like this. Your favorite piece of old school equipment and your favorite piece of new school equipment.
Yeah, definitely dowsing rods, old school.
Okay.
I think that's that goes back in the day a little bit there.
Right.
For us, yeah, I mean, new equipment, we've had a lot of success with, obviously, Spirit Box.
Right.
That's something that we always had a lot of expect. And for us, we love the REM pod. That's something that we have a lot of experience with as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But we just got an SLS camera that we tried out on our last investigation.
Oh, that's my favorite. In fact, I call that the Rick camera, because the first time we used that, we were doing an old, it's government offices, but the first time I had that set up, Rick was actually the first one to spot the very first stick figure on there. It's like, but, in fact, I think that's his favorite piece, too, because he's focused on that thing when you go on.
That's wild. When you see two figures in the room and there's only one person or nobody. That's pretty freaking weird, man. Yeah.
The first time we were at a location, and then we were just sitting there, and we were like, "Wait, is that like a painting on the wall that somehow is
right?"
I don't think so. And then you tell, can you raise your hand? And the hand goes up.
Yes.
Like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's right. Because that one where he spotted it, like, it was in this room, nothing was inside. I think the only thing that was in it looked like an old, like dental chair.
Dentist chair or something.
And we had it set up, Rick's looking, and I remember, I think you were just like, what the hell is that? And, like, it was the size of this kid. It was, like, sitting in the chair and, like, literally asking it to run around. You would literally see this thing moving from the, like, around the room and responding to what we're asking, and then run out of the room. Like, it was, for the first time trying it out, it was just wild. And like I said, that's the Rick camera.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. Well, I do appreciate you for coming on tonight. It was a fun discussion. And,
definitely.
Again, why don't you give your email and your website, just so in case people didn't catch it the first time.
Yeah. So our email is ramsparanormalcrew98@gmail.com. Or you can follow us at any of our social media, which is Twitter, TikTok, or Instagram. That's just at Rams Paranormal.
All right, very cool. All right, Andrew. Again, thank you very much for coming on. It was a great interview.
Yes.
We'll keep in touch, and I'm sure Doug will. You guys can commiserate over who's gonna drive who out to Trans Allegheny.
Oh yeah, no, actually, I will. If you don't mind, like to reach out to you, and just kind of talk some more. Because again, Para-Unity is like, I'm a big supporter of that. And I think it's great always learning about what other teams are doing, and we learn from each other. That's what it all boils down to. So.
Yeah, hit us up. We could set something up. That'd be awesome.
Awesome. Good
Very
deal.
Cool. All right, Andrew, thank you again for coming on, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, stay safe, guys. Thanks.
All right, you
Have
too,
a good
Andrew.
night. All right, Andrew Stopko from Rams Paranormal.
Yeah, and again, it's like I said. I mean, there's especially hearing like I'm not 100% familiar, obviously, with the different locations they have, but like I'm familiar with the the flooding and everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like to talk to teams and knowing they are familiar with that. Much like he said, he's wants to do Eastern State, where I've been there.
Right.
It's so neat just to hear and share those kind of war stories, so to speak.
Right.
And yeah, and definitely, obviously, they're a great, credible team that they've been around and they definitely know their stuff. I'm really looking forward to talking to them some more. But now it is going to be a little better. It's like all right, Andrew, if you're still listening, if I get into Trans Allegheny, I promise you, I'll have you join too. So but I want the same thing. So we'll just say that now. No,
y'all can compare your bucket list.
Oh
together.
man, I'm telling you, it's that's
Very
a big
cool.
one.
Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting to hear. I like the perspectives of different parts of the country.
Sure.
Because not everybody looks at. It's not even a location, a geographic thing. It's just different people.
Right.
People look at different, the same situations differently sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why I asked that question about what he thought about hauntings in general. Are they
right?
Are they stone tape theory type things? Are they ancestors reaching back out? Because everyone has a different opinion.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, look at it. Again, we were talking about Gettysburg, or another place that comes to mind, like down New Orleans. These locations that they have a huge paranormal following. People will visit these locations just based off of the paranormal stories, and if you are from those areas and you have an interest in it enough that you want to start a team like that, I mean, your views could be a lot different or a lot more stronger than, let's say, a team that in the middle, just off top of my head, Kansas, let's say, I don't know, just a random state like in the middle of nowhere where they really don't have many paranormal things that happen. So it's kind of like more open to things being natural versus, if you understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, well, so it's kind of like the mindset with what you're exposed to with what's happened in the history of the place.
Right, but the one possibility that I didn't touch on at all, but it's still a possibility, is the tulpa.
Okay.
Where you talk about New Orleans and they have all these stories, and these stories have been told for hundreds of years.
Right.
So what's to say that these stories aren't being manifested by the belief in the stories?
Right, exactly.
Around and around we go, the snake eats its tail.
Right.
So the stories are there because the people believe in the stories.
Right.
And the people believe in the stories because the hauntings are there.
And then it starts again, then it actually, like, one thing that people, don't realize, like, especially if you've lived in a home, let's say you've lived in a home since you were 5 years old, and for whatever reason you're now in your 60s, 70s, you've raised a family there, and ever since you were younger, it's always been a story of all this ghost that's been there. You can literally, by telling those stories, like you're saying, create that energy and create your own ghost, and all of a sudden then it become a reality. I mean, I'm not saying if we sat here and said, Toxic Studio has been haunted by a guy named Chuck for, sitting there talking about it for a week, is it going to generate? But, I mean, if you go and people talk about something or come up with a very specific story, it's been shown they can legitimately have something create from that.
That's the Philip experiment.
Right.
We talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Up in, I think it was in Canada. They had researchers.
Was it Canada? I
think it was up in Canada.
Okay.
They had researchers all get together and with the purpose of creating a ghost.
And they did. And they found evidence. Yeah.
Yeah. They took a completely benign house that was not haunted,
right,
or purportedly haunted or whatever. And they created an entire backstory for this ghost. He lived between this time. He had this happen to him. He died like this. This entire backstory to this ghost. It was like creating a character in fiction.
Right.
But they did this, and they all had this mindset that he was real, and they had seances, and they convinced themselves to the point where they actually started to have evidence manifesting around them,
Philip,
based on the story.
Right, exactly. I mean, and that, and like you said, who's to say all those years, all those hundreds of years and whatnot? I mean, not even, like I always say, and we talked about it before, the U.S., I mean, we're the babies of the world. You go over in these other countries. I mean, yeah, granted, Native Americans, they lived here and everything, but like, these stories where we have a couple hundred years of stories versus over in them countries, you have thousands and thousands of years. How many of those stories and legends how many hauntings exist because, like you said, much like the Philip experiment, where it's just been told and just that belief, it's all energy. That energy can manifest itself to boom. There you go. You have a once kind of fake legend turn into a reality of something that, then it really is potentially to be scared of. So it's very interesting.
It is very, very interesting.
Ghosts fascinate me. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I had an idea. I had a suspicion.
Could that maybe have happened with Bigfoot? All the years of Bigfoot, could maybe he'd been mad. I mean, I still think he's interdimensional, but that's a whole nother show.
I mean, it's not impossible. Like we've talked about that before.
Yeah. There's just so many. Yeah, again, there are. A whole nother topic, whole nother show. But between Bigfoot as well as other things, I think they're just interdimensional things that can pop in and out every so often, whether they mean to or not.
Yeah.
But again.
All right, so we're going to wrap things up for the evening. Yeah. It was a very, very enlightening, interesting show.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love it. Again, communicating with other teams here, and so
figured it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I want to thank Andrew Stopko from Rams Paranormal for coming on. We'll have all their contact information in our show notes. And so that's going to wrap it up for the evening. We'll be back next week with an all new Paradelphia.
Sounds good.
On one topic or another. I haven't figured that out yet. I love keeping you in suspense.
We
I don't just keep the people in suspense. I keep us in suspense.
I was going to say, sometimes when we wing it, it's the best. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So again, I want to thank our crew here in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Mr. Doug for stopping in and co-hosting. And again, thank you to Andrew Stopko for taking time out to talk to us. And so that's going to wrap it up. I am Rick. We are Paradelphia, and we are out of here.
Good night.